Hello and welcome to the next episode of Advanced Blueprint Tutorials. In this lesson we'll be talking about first-person camera switching, first-person pose switching, that is multiplayer ready. We'll be also doing some pose switching which will eventually give a different view on the owner for better FP experience, and then replicates a different pose to all other actors. We are also working with first-person assets animation that comes when you start a new project with the first-person template. We simply switched the animation blueprint that is in store to an overlay. We'll discuss first-person perspective multiplayer problems, which is different aim points and different rotation modes. We'll be also discussing about true first-person animation as a general idea. What problems does it bring? Which is mostly the hand correction on the pose and the swaying animation from the secondary additive animations that are being run on the whole body mesh. So let's jump in. This is what we're going to work with today. We have a general character that is a completely new BP. I made it from scratch within minutes with the system we have in place, and I copied some of the basics from the previous tutorial. On C, he's switching the variable of first person, so switching view as well. And this is not making the animation as beautiful as they could be, because actually we are using still third-person animations except with an overlay. With V button I can change just the camera without changing any variables. So this is what the other players will see, and this is what we see except with a change camera view, and that's it. However, if I press X, now I am using first-person proper animations, and you can see that the gun is absolutely sticking to the camera. There is no lag and no issues with this view whatsoever. And if we hit V and change the camera, you'll see that it's fixed to our rotation, but also our aim offset is instant. Okay, so how all of this is set up? Let's take a look at our main event graph. Okay, so on begin play we hit neutral pose and we toggle camera to not first person. So what this event does, this is a function. If first person is true, then we take the first person camera, which is here, set it to active, and third person camera to not active. And we do the same in the opposite direction if FP is false. So we got two spring arms, one is length of 0. It is using the camera, the pound rotation, everything, the entire rotation, and it doesn't have any lag. Third person camera uses also pound rotation, has a spring arm length of 150, and we actually can even enable a small lag. And even a rotation lag. It doesn't hurt us really. So if you go to view, there's nothing special except that we also have a gun mesh from the base pack, and it is added to the hand R directly because the IK bones are not being used by those animations, so they are pretty useless for us at this point. So we are just adding to the hand, and that looks a lot better instead of weapon just flowing in the air. And we also added an arrow that is 10 meters long, and it is a bit thinner, so it's just an indicator of the true aim of the barrel. Of course we would make a small adjustments to the aim on tick if we were actually making a shooter game, but the closer the barrel is to the true aim, to the middle of the screen, the better. So we got an indicator for that. So let's go back here. So we toggle camera, we check neutral pose, and we got 3 poses: neutral, weapon pose, and weapon absolute pose. They all set up this absolute same variables. So at first they set up the base pose. So for neutral pose, this is the mocap basic. For the weapon poses, this is the starter iron sight. This pose, this animation was also fixed so that it's not, it doesn't require us to set up additive alpha to 0, and the foot are no longer locked. It works as should, works as intended. Now, after setting the pose, we are setting the overlay pose. So in the neutral pose, there's no overlay, so we're taking just the base animation, and on weapon poses, we're taking the new FP starter overlay pose. By the way, when you look into the data table, I removed absolutely every tag that is not being used in any way and doesn't bring anything to the table. So those are all tags that are being used at the moment. Let's get back here. And then we change the turn rotation. For neutral pose, we do the rotation to movement, so we are always facing velocity. And we have a rotation speed of 360 on all of them. And when we have a weapon, we are doing desired rotate angle, which means that we have a free aim up, down, left, right until we hit 90-degree angle. When we do, we start turning in place, and we stop turning in place at a tolerance of 5 degrees. And aim offset, obviously on the neutral pose, it is look at, clamped at 135. I just really like this value, and aim offset speed is 6. I also like this value. For weapon poses, the aim offset is aim at. It's also faster. It's 10 instead of 6. And it is absolutely clamped at 90. Because, like always, we are using the IK aim offset and we don't use any animation actual aim offsets. So neutral pose, just reset all the important setup and all the setup events here, everything that is event setup, event setup, event setup, event setup on the component, everything is multiplayer ready, so you don't have to worry about replicating any variables. So we are doing this on multiplayer. The camera is obviously a local function, and then we are limiting the minimum pitch of -75 and maximum view pitch at, well, let's make it -80, so it will be streamlined to the same. So we cannot look exactly on top and, for example, throw a grenade that will fall on our head, and we cannot shoot ourselves in the foot, but we can look down almost directly. So this is all we do on begin play. Now on C, we are taking our animation master component, we are running a new setup event, and actually this event should be called event setup first person. Just a small fix. Okay, and we are also checking a function that is a pure function from the component, is first person. So we're checking if we are first person, denying that value and setting as the new first person. So if we are first person, set not to first person. If we are not first person, set it to first person. So that's a very simple toggle that we just check a variable and then we set the opposite of it. And then we do the event, the function toggle camera, and we are reading again the value is first person. So if first person, set the camera to active to first person, obviously. Okay, and then on our animation master component, we can do add event, and there is an event dispatcher that is on first person change. And why we do it like this is that instead of here on C throwing all of this and doing this execution line as well here, we can do it here, because this event toggle first person, it could be toggled from anywhere actually. And if we, for example, toggle first person from an ability or a weapon is switching our view mode from first person to third person, like in Destiny when you equip a melee weapon, Then we want to do some stuff based on that here. So actually this it will be moved from here and put here. Bam. And now every time we trigger first person, we'll also toggle the camera properly and set the proper first person camera. This event is to explain later what it does. So we do this. This is not really multiplayer ready, so the variables here and events are not replicated because this affects only local player. The camera setting and what is our view is absolutely irrelevant for any remote clients. Okay, so if we are first person, we are switching pose to weapon pose. If we are not first person, we are switching pose to neutral pose. So if we run it, see, we have the weapon pose, see again, neutral pose. And the neutral pose event triggers everything. So the locomotion type, aim offset, everything. See again, and we are in the weapon mode. Okay. Now, just for debugging purposes, I also added an extra event on V, which is just toggling the camera, and it is checking if we have first-person camera on, which is pure function here directly on the character, and it's just checking what's the active state of the first-person camera. So we are again doing a toggle like we did here, except if we read this value, it will not change on toggle, but if we read this value, we'll know to change camera. So on V, we are changing camera every time I trigger it. On C, now we have everything that happens on switching to first person view. So the pose, the rotation, the aim offset, everything. But if I hit V, I just change camera, nothing else. And by the way, look how the IK is adjusting the aim to our camera. Okay, so I hit C again and it disables the pose. And then I hit V and C and I'm back here. Okay, so that's it. And there is an X. And X is checking, oh, this is interesting. I didn't know it's so simple. And this goes for the rule of not doing something that's already done. We can get the controller of a pawn or character just by get controller. And from this controller, you can always check if it is local player control. So you don't have to check if it's locally controlled and player controlled. Like I showed in one of the previous tutorials, you could just check is local player controlled. There's a function already specified that is taking place of this functionality. So we're checking if we are locally controlled. We don't want to do it on multiplayer, and we're just checking the use control rotation yaw on X. So what it will do, it will switch our animation mode X to stick with our control yaw. And we have a slight lag because we set up the third person camera lag, and that's why he's rotating faster than the camera, because the camera is actually lagging behind. But if we switch the camera, here we have no lag, and if we hit X, now we are, you can see that our feet are not moving, we are rotating, and our gun is properly set up to the middle of the screen, and it's not moving with all the IK that our character is doing. Now, how does it look on multiplayer? This is very important. So let's set up 2 players and play as clients of dedicated server. Let's take the main one and maybe stand here so we can see a bit better. And now let's take this guy and I hit C. So I changed the pose, but I still am seeing from my first person perspective what other players see. And if I hit V, this is the exact same. Oh, and we can see the adjustment of the aim based on the camera. So right now I see the exact same thing that my colleague here see. And this is actually very well prepared for a third-person shooter. But if I hit X, now I am in the true aim mode. If I hit V again to switch the camera, you can see that I have perfect aim. Very fast aim offset. However, if you look at the multiplayer window, you can see that I am still using the same rotation in place when we hit 90-degree angle, not sooner. Even though here we have foot completely stick to us, here it's not. So we actually, if we spin very fast, it will look very awkward on the remote client. It will look properly on our client only. And the aim is not exactly the same, because right now I am aiming at his head, but at his screen I am actually aiming on top of it. And yeah, right now it is going through his head as should, but right now the IK correction is adjusting the aim on the client a bit off. And this is because of how the IK aim offset is being set up, and I am going to jump on top of it in a second, but I will show one more thing. So this is the way you can do really nice turn-in plays and bi-directional aim offset on clients. And we could actually make it faster because it's quite slow. And still have this perfect first-person experience on the owning client. So this is like many games are actually set up. However, if we go here, there's a weapon absolute pose, and let's change weapon pose from the on FPP change to weapon absolute pose. And what's the difference? The only difference is here. Turn desired rotation at angle 90 with a tolerance of 5, and here we are taking the animation turn character rod yaw. So we're doing this, and we no longer need to press X, and this is being replicated. So right now, when I hit play, and I will take my character, run a bit to the side, I can actually aim and change the camera. Or not. Let's just aim and look. And I will take this guy and I hit C. Now he has the exact same turn that is being replicated out of the box by the character movement component and character class itself. And the aim offset has a slight lag, and it is intentional, but it is also very fast, and it is taking the actual aim of my character. And right now when I aim at him, I am actually aiming at him, and he can see that, and he's aiming at me, and I can see that as well. Like, he is aiming at my head, and I can see this pointer disappearing in my camera actually. So everything works properly. The only problem here is that we no longer have y-axis aim offset, because we are constantly rotating, so it wouldn't even show if we set it up. But this is the way very fast-paced shooters should be set up, because if your opponent aim is relevant to you, is very relevant to you, because it indicates that he's seen you or not, this is the way to go. So let's see how the animation graph is being set up, because we've talked about everything here, and honestly I would prefer using this, but we could at any point just connect this here and doing it like this. And if we do it like this and now we run, we'll have instantly the proper first person experience as we wanted, and we'll have the bidirectional aim offset on the client. So it depends on your preference, how you want to set it up. I will just leave it like here, and once you download the project, you can make up for yourself. Okay, let's take a look at the animation graph. The core animation graph didn't change at all. The only new thing is the overlay conduit going to FP starter. Um, 0.3, and this should be linear. Okay. It goes to FP starter on the tag FP starter, and we have the linked anim graph. The linked anim graph itself, I didn't change any variables. By the way, this is not important anymore because we are pushing those variables down, so we don't need to update any values. So there are just two values, is moving and is in air. So we are pushing them down from the core anim graph by falling and not idle, and that's it. And here we had the state machine. I haven't touched it at all. This is the state machine that was, and the only thing we could do if we want is to make it inertialization, and after inertialization, well, I don't think it will matter at this point. Let's see if nothing broke. One offline play. Yeah, it doesn't matter really. Okay. So because of how the FP animations, when you import them, are set up, we need to rotate our character by 90 degrees. This is quite troublesome. I tried to edit the animation, but that would take too long. Instead of editing the animation, we are just rotating the root bone, and this is a very fast IK node, and we don't have to worry about that. Then we're doing a blend, and this is a different blend. We're not doing a blend of spine 01, because of the clavicles. You see the hands on many first-person animations, and this is also a common problem with marketplace assets. The clavicles are set up in such an unnatural way that there is no pose with your spine that would look good with this hand's location. Like human body doesn't bend like this. So what we are doing, we are just taking the clavicle right, and we are using this one, and then we're taking the IK hand root because we also need it from the animation. And then we take upper arm left and make a blend depth of 2, so it's more eased in. So like you see, it's not as bad as it was. We could actually even do 3, I think. And what if we do 1? Yeah, this is not so bad as well. And that also shouldn't change anything. Yeah, you can see that actually the hand position didn't change. I will explain why. But when we do this and change camera view, our shoulders are not dislocated in a horrible way, and they actually look proper. So getting back here, we are just taking clavicle, upper arm, clavicle will do 1 as well. Oh no, clavicle is responsible for aim, so it has to be 0. It has to be perfect. And that's it. And we're blending it in mesh space rotation. If we didn't do the rotate root bone, it would look like this. This is the default animations, unfortunately. Yeah, so we're doing this. And then we're doing the same thing as we did before. So we're moving IK hand gun to hand R, and we're moving IK hand L to hand L. So the IK bones match our hand bones, and this is important because when you look at our core animation graph, once we do the final blend of the upper body and we do the IK setup, we are doing this node, so hand IK retargeting, and this is helping solve the issue of the relation between the right hand and left hand. So if we move the right hand properly, and we did with this, and the left hand might be a bit dislocated from the point that we would wish it to be, this node will fix it. So it will take the translation between those IK bones, and it will just set this difference of position to those bones. And by having weight 1 means that it will not move hand R. If we have blend weight of 0, it will not move hand L and adjust hand R. So if we are, for example, having a weapon that we hold in the left hand, so a spear, a bow from many animation packs, would set this to 0 and make the left hand lead. And if we have any right hand animation like pistol, rifle, one-handed swords and stuff, we'll make it 1, so the right hand is the lead of this. And the IK bone to move is the IK hand gun, which is the parent to hand R and hand L, and it is moving in such a way that those bones are all in order. Okay, so that's it for this anim graph. I didn't have to set up anything in the event graph, I just deleted it. I just did this, which was a copy, and just added a rotation, and that's it. That was the entire setup. When we look at the procedural aim, I've added one more thing. There is a aim when first person, and this is taking a different variable. It's not taking aim offset, it's taking aim pitch, which was already here, but we haven't used it even once. When you go to aim offset setup, it is here. So here we are setting up 2 aim offsets. One that is the perfect aim. So if we are a local character, we're taking the controller of our pawn, we're getting the actor rotation of that controller, we're making a delta rotator from our pawn and the controller, and we are setting the aim up from the pitch, and that's it. And if we are a remote client, then we have an interpolated same setup. However, we were saying of the same variable. However, we cannot take the controller and take its actor rotation, because on dedicated server, remote clients, they don't have a controller. The controller is just existing on the server and on the owning client only. So this would return null and rotation would be always 0, 0, 0. So our aim offset would break. That's why we take base aim rotation, and base aim rotation is actually taking the control rotation, but the start of the base aim rotation is from our default class base eye height. And let's go back to the procedural aim. So we're taking this value now, which is the aim pitch. We multiply it by -1, and we basically copied this, except we completely nullified the aim offset x, and it is always 0. If we take the aim offset x, it will lag 1 frame behind our character, and at least 1 frame, because it's also replicated. So that means we'll break the immersion of the first person aiming. So this is being triggered not on the FP view, which is local variable, and it never ever triggers on the remote clients because it's just for visual purposes only, and I will actually show how to use it in later tutorials. So we're checking if it uses through rotation. So we're casting our pawn to character, and we're just checking if it uses control rotation yaw. And this control rotation yaw, like in this example, could be set up only locally on the press of X, or it can be set up on multiplayer when we do weapon absolute rotation and we use this animation turn character rotation, yo. Okay, so that's basically everything. I am packing this example and shipping as usual. I will leave it at this state, and by following this tutorial we'll be able to get multiple different results of how you want to toggle your first person animations. And from this point, we'll be doing a lot of really cool examples with those animation types. See you all soon.